Hi, this is Miss Andrea, and I work for the Children's Museum. I run their science workshop programs, and I'm bringing a project today, actually a guest speaker today, and it's courtesy of the Harris County Department of Education, Case for Kids City Connections, which is funded through the City of Houston. My guest speaker today is Allie, and she is going to be bringing a really cool project. My 8th graders, you really need to watch it. It's on blood typing, and I think it's very interesting, so let's take a look.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Children's Museum Houston for another education moment. I'm Allie, the life science educator, and I'm here in the Texas Children's Hospital sponsored Power Science Lab. And today we're actually going to go over one of the labs that you can actually model at home. This lab is called blood typing. So we're going to talk a little bit about types of blood and how we can actually model this sort of experiment right here at home. So blood has 4 different types, as you can see on my screen. There's A, B, AB, and O. There are some rare types, but we're going to talk about the main 4 ones. So A blood, or type A blood, actually has little proteins on their cells called A antigens, and that's why it's called A blood, because it has A antigens on those protein cells. Type B blood has B antigens on their cells, and then type AB blood has both A and B antigens on the blood. And then we have this other type that kind of looks like a 0, but it's really the letter O, and that's because it has no antigens on the blood cell. Antigens are just little proteins that live around the blood cell, and then they have the certain function. So whenever you have like a type A blood, that's me, I'm type A positive, that means that I have A blood cells with A antigens on them floating around in my bloodstream, and I also have what's called B antibodies floating around in my bloodstream. And if you see these B antibodies, they actually, what they do is they're going to attack foreign substances that enter my body. So what they might do is, say somebody gave me some B blood in like a transfusion or something, my B antibodies would attack that type B blood and adhere to it, causing it to clot, and then it wouldn't function like blood anymore. It'd cause like very clotted, and it wouldn't actually function very well. And we have a little model here in this video. So like I talked about, we have group A, B, AB, and O. And so A has A antigens on the red blood cells with anti-B antibodies. And then we have group B, which has B antigens on the red blood cells with anti-A antibodies. And then we have group AB, and they have both A and B antigens on the red blood cells, and they don't have any antibodies. That means we could give them type A blood, and they would be just fine. We could also give them type B blood, and they would be just fine as well. And then we have type O, and O has no antigens around its cell, its red blood cells. And it has anti-B and anti-A in its blood system. So that means we can't give type O blood, or we can't give type A or B blood or AB blood to type O. But you can give type O to both A, B, and AB. That's why type O is called the universal donor. They can donate their blood to anyone because they don't have any antigens on their red blood cells. And then we have the AB, like I said, is the universal receiver, because they can receive blood from anyone since they don't have any antigens in their blood system. So we're going to talk about what happens when we mix incompatible blood. They mix together, and this is what they look like. They're actually going to form clots in that system, and then that blood won't work anymore. So how we're going to imitate that is we have a mystery blood right here. It's artificial blood. It's not real blood. In fact, if you wanted to make this whole experiment at home, I'll go over how to do that in just a minute. So we're going to take our artificial blood, and I'm going to squeeze on my little plate. You can actually use just a regular plate at home. 1 drop in my A, 1 drop in my RH, which is the positive or negative, and 1 drop in my B. And so what I'm first going to do is add my anti-A serum, which is supposed to be like the antibodies. And I'm going to test and see if I have, there we go, I'll add some liquid there, some anti-B serum, and I'm going to see what type it is. Now, if it clots, that means it's that type of blood. So if you notice, I'm going to take my little stir stick, and that blood looks normal. It looks just like regular blood. Again, it's artificial blood. It's not real blood, don't worry. But when I take my stir stick on my type B, what happens? It starts to clot. It looks just like the picture, which means this artificial blood is actually type B blood. Now, another type of antigen we have in our system is known as the Rh factor, which is whether we get the positive or negative. So if it's positive, that means it's going to clot in my little circle, and if it's negative, that means it's going to look like that A circle where it's not very clotted. I'm going to add my anti-D serum or anti-RH. I'm going to squeeze a few drops in there, and here I'm going to mix it up, and it looks just like the B. So really my artificial blood is B positive. So maybe we should be a little more positive. Sorry, that's my joke. But actually how I ended up making this experiment, so behind the scenes in Power Science Lab, since we're not using real blood, what I actually did is this is whole milk, and it's dyed red to make it look like artificial blood. And in order to get our whole milk to curdle like I did here, I used lemon juice and a little bit of food coloring to trick your eye to not know what is actually in here. So the bottles that have lemon juice in it are the anti-B bottle and the anti-D bottle. And the bottle that has just water in it is the anti-A serum. And you can actually make your own bottles at home. And so whatever type you want it to be, that's the bottle you add lemon juice to. So if you wanted it to be type A blood, you would add lemon juice to your little anti-A bottle or cup if you wanted to use a cup at home. And then you'd add water to your B. And if you wanted it to be A positive, you could add lemon juice to this one. But if you wanted it to be negative, you'd leave it with just water. So you can actually make your mystery blood types at home and test your siblings or your parents can test you, and you can figure out what type of mystery blood or artificial blood that you have right there. And it doesn't take a lot. If you notice, I only used 3 drops, so you can use far less milk if you want to. And you can even dilute the lemon juice to half lemon juice, half water if you'd like. But there is the scene behind our blood lab. It's called blood typing, and there's all sorts of things, so make sure that you come back and visit us and watch some more videos. We'll be posting regularly, and I just want to say thank you so much for visiting me here in the Texas Children's Hospital sponsored Power Science Lab. I look forward to seeing y'all again. Bye!